Well, it's a great pleasure to join you here this evening. I'd like to introduce to you my very long-standing colleague and friend on guitar and synth, Mr. Brian Hughes. It's always with a mixture of many feelings when it comes to an in-store. Maybe I watched Spinal Tap when we were the trepidation thinking, well, you know, maybe nobody will come and will buy me one So I'm very grateful for you to come this evening. It's really great to see you. The Alhambra project was quite an interesting one in many respects. When I've been interviewed about it, people say, well, how come the Alhambra? And as many of you probably know by now, I've used the Celtic history as a creative springboard for my musical inspiration. And in 1993, I discovered that there was a Celtic corner of Spain up in Galicia. Up until that time, I knew very little about Spanish history. And one of the wonderful things about this way of creating the musical documents is that I've opened up a much broader landscape to my curiosity than things overtly Celtic. Sometimes the Celtic road has been the conduit to many other places and themes and things of great interest and fascination. So it was through that northwest corner of Spain that I started focusing in a bit on Spanish history. And it's impossible to do that really without coming across the Alhambra in Granada and the wonderful tradition, the Moorish influence there. And of course, a period of time where there were, you know, three religious communities cohabitating to some degree or another. It was far from perfect. But the Alhambra proper as a compound is absolutely stunning. And we were greatly privileged to secure the permission to perform there. I'm not sure how many of you have been there, but if you haven't and had the opportunity to go in, I can highly recommend it. The rotunda where we performed was not part of the Moorish architecture. It was the Charles V rotunda, but even in itself, which dates back to about, I think, the 15th or 16th century, but in itself was quite a pleasing environment. Rotunda, as it implies, it was a round space. But one of the wonderful features of it, it didn't have a roof. So from time to time when we're performing those evenings, and we tape the concert over 3 nights. The first night we taped was a dress rehearsal, and then there were 2 nights with an audience. And every once and again I'd look up to the sky and I'd see these stars and the clouds kind of drifting by. It was just really wonderful. And I was also very blessed to have an exceptional group of musicians performing with me. So in regard, that's about all I can say at the moment about that. But I just wanted to share those thoughts with you. The material on the project really spans across the catalogue and includes maybe about 3 tunes from the Ancient Muse. One of the pieces that we performed was a piece that we did perform this, didn't we? I thought it was actually in 1985. I had been asked to set a poem, an Irish poem to music as part of the Toronto Authors Festival, and I chose, this was to celebrate the fact that J.P. Donlevy was reading at this Authors Festival in Toronto, and I had been studying some things on Yeats, so I set this poem, Stone Child, to music, and I would like to do it for you now. There have been some very wonderful poets that have come out of Ireland. This next piece is another poem by Patrick Kavanagh. It refers to a road in Dublin. In 1988, I worked at the Abbey Theatre on a production that was a Millennium production. And I remember those days I had a bicycle and I was staying in this bed and breakfast place, and I would cycle to and from the theatre. But those wonderful evenings, even after the production was over, there was still light in the sky, and I would pass by this street. So when I went on to actually learn the song, it had a bit more special meaning. So it's called Raglan Road.
Someday I saw you.
So I think what we might do then is shift on, and so I can meet you folks. I'm really looking forward to it, and I believe that the folks here have a system that they will. A plan. It's funny because as my musical exploration has broadened it's led me to all these instruments and percussion and rhythm, and it's really difficult to do on my own like this, a good part of the repertoire that involves some of that. But so it ends up being that I can do, of course, most of the ballads that would probably put you to sleep or put you cause you weepy or put you to sleep. But no, I think I'd have to.
Signing lines, you can start.